The blade catches the morning sun as Thomas Cromwell kneels on Tower Hill. Thousands of Londoners press against the barriers, craning for a better view. Just 12 miles upstream, at Hampton Court Palace, the King's chefs are preparing another feast in kitchens that could feed 800 people. The same monarch who commissioned tapestries worth a small kingdom's ransom has just ordered his most faithful servant's end. Welcome to Tudor London, a city of staggering contrasts where unimaginable wealth lived alongside calculated terror. This is June 1509 to January 1547, the reign of King Henry VIII. Welcome to Arthur's living history. Do you wonder how a single ruler could transform England's entire spiritual landscape while building pleasure palaces that would make emperors envious? Let me explain. Picture London on a bright June morning in 1509. Church bells cascade across the city from 46 monasteries, nunneries and abbeys. The young King Henry, just 18 years old, rides through streets draped with cloth of gold toward his coronation at Westminster Abbey. He's strikingly tall, standing 6 feet 2 inches when the average Londoner measures 5 feet 7. Handsome, athletic, charming. He represents everything England has longed for after decades of civil war and his father's paranoid rule. The new king and his Spanish bride Catherine move through a city still essentially medieval. The Thames serves as the main highway, with wherries and barges ferrying nobles between palaces. London Bridge, the only crossing, bears not just shops and houses, but something more sinister. Traitors' heads, preserved in tar, stare down from iron spikes. It's a warning that will become devastatingly relevant as the reign progresses. But first comes glory. Young Henry throws himself into kingship with breathtaking enthusiasm. He composes music, writes poetry, hunts with abandon. His court becomes a whirlwind of tournaments, masks, and feasts. The Venetian ambassador marvels that Henry is the best-dressed sovereign in the world. His robes are the richest and most superb that can be imagined. Everything changes in the late 1520s. The king needs a son. His marriage to Catherine has produced only one surviving child, Princess Mary. Henry's eye falls on Anne Boleyn, a clever noblewoman who refuses to become his mistress. She holds out for marriage. The problem? The Pope won't grant an annulment. Henry's solution will reshape England forever. Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, the King's chief minister, has built himself a palace that rivals anything Henry owns. Hampton Court rises on the Thames's banks, 12 miles from London. Wolsey completed it in 1514, creating a Renaissance masterpiece with over 1,000 rooms. The cardinal's pride proves his undoing. In 1529, sensing his enemies closing in and knowing Henry's growing anger over the divorce negotiations, Wolsey desperately gifts Hampton Court to the king. It doesn't save him. He expires the following year, broken and disgraced.
Make way for His Majesty.
Gently with that tapestry.
Henry seizes Hampton Court with relish. Within 6 months, he begins transforming it into something even more magnificent. His court numbers over 1,000 people, and few of his 60-plus palaces can accommodate them all. The king quadruples the kitchen complex, creating a culinary factory that can produce feasts for 800 courtiers.
Face the boar, man. Keep the dripping steady.
Stir the beef pot, lest it
45
burn before the
wood-burning
king arrives.
fires roar constantly. Cooks prepare swan, venison, peacock, elaborate sugar sculptures. The great kitchens employ 55 staff members working in a space covering more than 36,000 square feet. Between 1532 and 1535, Henry constructs the Great Hall, the last medieval Great Hall built for English monarchy. Its hammer-beam roof is carved with extraordinary detail. The king grows so impatient for completion that masons work through the night by candlelight. Here, Henry dines in state upon a raised platform, theatrical displays of royal power designed to overwhelm visitors with his magnificence. In 1540, Henry installs the Hampton Court astronomical clock above the gatehouse. This mechanical marvel shows not just time, but the moon's phases, the month, the quarter, the date, sun and star signs, and critically for Thames-side visitors, high water at London Bridge. Travel by river barge remains the preferred method for the wealthy, and timing your departure with the tide is essential. The palace becomes Henry's favourite residence. He brings all 6 wives here. His third queen, Jane Seymour, passes away at Hampton Court after giving him his longed-for son, Edward.
Those whom God hath joined together, let no...
The king marries his 6th wife, Catherine Parr, within these walls. But Hampton Court also witnesses terror. When Catherine Howard, Henry's 5th wife, is arrested here for adultery, legend says her agonized screams echo down what's now called the Haunted Gallery as she attempts to reach the king and beg forgiveness. While Henry creates his earthly paradise at Hampton Court, revolution unfolds in London. In 1534, Parliament passes the Act of Supremacy, making Henry supreme head of the Church of England. The break with Rome is complete. What follows transforms the city's very skyline. Thomas Cromwell, a blacksmith's son from Putney who rose to become the king's chief minister, oversees the dissolution of the monasteries.
Know ye all men present that this establishment is hereby
It begins in
dissolved and
1536
surrendered into the hands
with
of the
smaller religious houses. Cromwell orders the Valor Ecclesiasticus, a comprehensive survey revealing that monasteries control roughly 1/4 of England's cultivated land and possess staggering wealth. Some great Benedictine abbeys like Glastonbury enjoy enormous incomes while smaller priories struggle. But all face the same fate. London contains 46 religious establishments when Henry takes the throne. The city's monastic communities include Greyfriars, Blackfriars, Austin Friars, the Charterhouse, and numerous smaller houses. These institutions have shaped London life for centuries, providing education, healthcare, charity, and spiritual comfort. Their dissolution marks what historians call the greatest dislocation of people, property, and daily life since the Norman Conquest. The London Charterhouse demonstrates the human cost. Prior John Houghton leads his Carthusian monks with such devotion that people say if you wish to witness divine service with true reverence, visit his monastery. In 1535, Houghton and his monks face a terrible choice: take an oath accepting the king as supreme head of the church, or refuse and face consequences. Houghton refuses.
He hath refused the king's supremacy.
He's tried at Westminster Hall in April 1535 and condemned. He and his fellow monks meet their end in their monastic habits, hair shirts beneath. They perish, as one sympathizer writes, for the love of Jesus and for the faith of his bride, the Catholic Church. The Charterhouse closes in November 1538, its buildings desecrated, turned into storage for the king's pavilions and hunting equipment. Between 1536 and 1540, approximately 800 religious houses across England fall. Nearly 12,000 monks, nuns, friars and canons see their world end. In London, the transformation is dramatic. Greyfriars becomes Christ's Hospital.
50 shillings for the carved archway, do I hear 60? 60 shillings
Buildings
once, 60
stone and
shillings
slate
twice.
are sold to the highest bidder. Many monastic structures become granaries, barns and stables. Some grounds are seized by Henry for his own use. The land that becomes Hyde Park, St James's Park, Green Park, Regent's Park and Kensington Gardens all comes from dissolved religious holdings. The king sells most monastic estates in the early 1540s through his new financial agency, the Court of Augmentations. Courtiers acquire former monasteries, adapting them into private residences.
Thomas, the masons are working tirelessly.
Sacred spaces, churches, chapter houses, cloisters are demolished, turned inside out. What was holy becomes secular. What was communal becomes private. The landscape changes forever. Cromwell enriches the crown enormously, but the money flows out as quickly as it arrives. Henry wages expensive wars with France and Scotland. He builds coastal fortifications. He enlarges his navy, establishing shipyards at Deptford, Woolwich and Erith near Greenwich, where the King's Yard at Deptford alone expands to 30 acres with wet docks, slips for warships, forges and rope-making facilities. London's population swells during Henry's reign. From over 100,000 in 1550, it approaches 200,000 by 1600. People initially find living space in the grounds of seized religious institutions. The void left by religious charities forces the city to organize poor relief in 1547, establishing grain distribution and founding or reconstituting 5 royal hospitals. But while splendour rises at Hampton Court and London's economy flourishes, Tower Hill becomes England's most famous execution site. Unlike the private scaffold at Tower Green, reserved for nobility who merit dignified, secluded ends, Tower Hill serves for public spectacles. Here, over 125 people will lose their lives across the centuries, and Henry's reign adds its share. June 1535. Sir Thomas More, the King's former Lord Chancellor, author, scholar, and Henry's once trusted friend, climbs the scaffold on Tower Hill.
You must sign the oath, Master More. The King requires it.
More refused to accept Henry as supreme head of the Church of England. His conscience wouldn't permit it. The crowd watches in profound silence as this brilliant mind prepares for the end. More's final words are characteristically clever. He declares himself the King's good servant, but God's first. The blade falls. His head joins the others on London Bridge. 3 weeks earlier, Cardinal John Fisher, Bishop of Rochester and Catherine of Aragon's staunchest supporter, met his end at the same location. Fisher was 80 years old, so weak he could barely stand, yet he faced the axe with courage that moved even his executioners.
Who will take my bet on the gallows drop?
Tower Hill executions become grim entertainment for London's masses.
Stand back there! Hold the line! Let us pass! We must...
Thousands surge onto the hill, desperate for a view.
Look there, they raise the axe.
A fair view, well worth the climb.
Some climb ship masts in the Thames to watch. The spectacle serves Henry's purposes perfectly, visible, unforgettable reminders of royal power and the cost of defiance. July 1540. Thomas Cromwell's turn arrives. The man who engineered Anne Boleyn's fall, who dissolved the monasteries, who revolutionized English government, now kneels on Tower Hill.
King is truly displeased.
His downfall came after arranging Henry's disastrous marriage to Anne of Cleves. The king found his fourth bride repellent, and though the marriage was quickly annulled, Cromwell's enemies, led by conservative nobles, convinced Henry that his minister conspired against him. From the Tower, Cromwell wrote desperate letters to his master. The last one ends with a pathetic postscript. "Most gracious prince, I cry for mercy, mercy, mercy." Henry ignored him. Cromwell was executed without trial, condemned by act of attainder. The French ambassador later reported that Henry regretted it, claiming his Privy Council tricked him with false accusations, that he had slain the most faithful servant he had ever had. Cromwell's beheading was botched. The executioner took multiple strokes. The crowd, which had come expecting entertainment, witnessed something more horrifying. After the axe finally finished its work, Cromwell's head was displayed on London Bridge alongside other traitors. His body was buried in the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula inside the Tower, joining Anne Boleyn, Thomas More, and Henry's other victims. The contrasts define Henry's London. At Hampton Court, courtiers dress in expensive silks and velvets, playing at shepherds in elaborate masks. Guards check your clothing at each doorway. Dress well enough and you penetrate deeper into the palace, closer to the king. Henry keeps over 60 musicians on his payroll by 1547. The Great Hall echoes with entertainment, while the tennis courts host matches and the tilt yard stage tournaments where the king himself once competed.
Fresh wool, best price in London.
How much for the yard?
Meanwhile,
2 shillings.
common Londoners navigate a city transformed.
Is it noon yet?
Monastic bells that once marked the hours across 46 establishments have fallen silent. The hospitals and schools that monasteries maintained struggle or vanish.
Where is the father? They cannot leave us to starve.
The poor, who relied on monastic charity, find themselves abandoned.
Get back! The proclamation is posted. Have mercy, I...
Beggary becomes such a problem that new laws attempt to address it. The Thames remains the city's lifeline, but now royal barges carry a king who grows ever more dangerous with age. By the 1540s, Henry is grossly obese, his leg ulcers never healing, his temper legendary. Courtiers walk on knives' edges, one wrong word, one perceived disloyalty, and Tower Hill awaits.
The king's health is failing rapidly.
We must secure the succession before...
Henry's final years bring more changes. His sixth wife, Catherine Parr, whom he married at Hampton Court, proves a careful survivor.
Gently now, my lord. The poultice will...
She nurses the increasingly difficult king while managing not to provoke him. It requires extraordinary skill. Henry has already sent 2 queens to the scaffold. On January 28, 1547, In the early morning hours at Whitehall Palace, Henry VIII passes away at 55 years old. The next day, his children, 9-year-old Edward and 13-year-old Elizabeth, cling to each other weeping, fearful for their future in a world their father shaped through terror and magnificence. Henry leaves behind a transformed nation. The religious landscape he bulldozed can never be rebuilt. The monasteries remain ruins or secular properties. The wealth he seized funded wars that gained England little. But his legacy endures in ways he never imagined.
The Lord be with you. And with thy spirit.
The Church of England becomes a permanent institution.
This legislation is essential for the security of the realm, based on the precedents set forth.
Parliament's power grows from the precedents he set. The navy he built makes England a maritime force. And London itself has changed forever. The city that witnessed his coronation amid medieval splendor now stands on the threshold of the modern era. Hampton Court Palace remains, a testament to Tudor magnificence. Tower Hill's scaffold site, Trinity Gardens today, bears a memorial to those who met their end there. The contrast between these places, between the king's pursuit of pleasure and power, tells the story of an age when England lurched violently from medieval to modern, dragged forward by a king who would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. Henry's London taught a harsh lesson. Beauty and brutality could exist side by side, separated by just 12 miles of Thames and an ocean of moral distance. The same hands that commissioned masterpieces signed warrants. The same mind that appreciated fine music calculated political ends. And the same city that cheered his coronation in 1509 breathed easier when news of his passing spread in 1547. If you enjoyed journeying through Tudor London's magnificent contrasts, subscribe to Arthur's Living History for more immersive historical experiences. I'm Arthur, and I want to know, what historical event should I recreate next? Let me know in the comments.